So they're connected with Dr. Henry McKee Minton, but I want to stay on Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois. 3 times did he betray black people. Of course, he got with this trash, this whore, okay, Marcus Sanger. Number 2, he betrayed one of the truest patriots in history, okay, Dr. Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Dr. Marcus Mosiah Garvey was one of the greatest men in American and world history. Born in Jamaica, immigrated to New York City, okay, and during the late 1900s. Built the United Negro Improvement Association into a massive worldwide movement, but he was a threat. Multi-millionaire. This was before the time in the advent of the internet and cell phones. So J. Edgar Hoover of the Bureau of Investigation, a precursor to the FBI, let's use some Negroes. Now the term Negro comes from the Greek word necro, N-E-C-R-O, which means autopsy of flesh, necromancy, one having sex with a dead corpse. That's what Negro means, or necro, necrophilia, necropolis. And it was the Greeks who were originally called that. Then that was transferred, not to you and I. I'm not going to claim that. So then here comes the third sin of Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois, how he betrayed black people, not just with Marcus Sanger and setting up Dr. Marcus Mosiah Garvey, stating that he was embezzling money. That was a lie. And Dr. Garvey ended up going to prison and eventually being deported back home to his homeland of Jamaica. And Dr. Garvey, some years later in the mid-40s, was found dead at the Drake Hotel in London, England. Right across the hallway stayed Margaret Sanger and W.E.B. Du Bois. Another topic for another day, okay? And then the third betrayal of what Dr. Du Bois did against Black America was setting up this Boule secret society as gatekeepers. They are worse than any Klansman or skinhead. You got Roland Rolaids Martin, okay? You got Reverend Al, Vitamin B Deficient Sharpton, Jesse Jackson. These individuals, Benjamin Crump, they are race pimps. They don't care about you and I. These race pimps are part of the Boule. Now, what does the term Boule mean? It goes back at least 4,000 to 5,000 years into Greek antiquity. Now, the term Boule, B-O-U-L'-E, when you look at their logos, man of God, the original logo of the Boule, half man, half woman with breasts, okay, which means the Boule's connection to the LGBTQRS, whatever, all these demonic pronouns. A lion with this left paw on a skull. That's the original Boule logo going back 4,000 to 5,000 years during the time Aristotle, Plato, and Socrates. Okay. The present day logo, which is the present day insignia of the Boule Secret Society, now they're headquartered, not in Philadelphia, but in Atlanta. Same entity, half male, half female, half lion, with this right paw on an urn. U-R-N, which they keep the ashes of dead people. So when you connect the word skull urn or urn skull on Google Images, it represents jewelry of witches and warlocks, which they encapsulate the dust of the people that they conquer, whether around their neck, their wrists, or their ankles. That's who the Boules are. They're the gatekeepers. They protect the gates of the 13 families. The Rothschilds, Oppenheimers, Warburgs, Rockefellers, Council on Foreign Relations, Trilateral Commission, Club of Rome, Committee of 300, the Hidden Hand, the Council of 1,000, and the Council according to National Policy. These Negroes, they don't love the masses of black people, like Roland Martin, according to Rolaids Martin, all these gatekeeping Negroes. They will kill you for a bucket of chicken and 2 butter biscuits. And if you add in another butter biscuit, they'll take out the whole neighborhood. I don't deal with them, man. They will betray you, okay? So that's the Boule Secret Society. They protect the system, okay, that's keeping black Americans in the world in check. You got over 5,000 members of the Boule throughout the United States, throughout the Caribbean, in Eastern, Central, and Western Europe, mainly in the United Kingdom. They're chosen. Doctors and lawyers and judges. And there's a 1969 book, and I'm going too fast, slow me down. The book goes back to 1969. It says The History of Sigma Pi Phi, or Boule, by Dr. Charles H. Wesley, who was a 33rd degree Prince Hall Mason. You can't become a Boule unless you're first a Prince Hall Mason. You cannot pastor or call yourself a preacher and be a member of a secret society. Whether it's Boule Secret Society, whether it's Phi Beta Kappa or Kappa Beta Phi. Phi Beta Kappa is the deep state arm of the league, of the educational in the legal arm of the deep state, where Kappa Beta Phi is the Wall Street faction. I'll come back to that. So they set up these Negroes, these pastors, these whores like Jamal Bryant. Boy, you're going to get a lot of hits with this interview, okay? He's a whore. That's what Jamal Bryant is not for the sanctity of life. He is pro-abortion. Now, they can wrap it up and say, well, we have to protect the sanctity of the black. No, what you're doing, you are murdering children, okay? But this is what the system has done, man of God. Not just building the prison industrial complex. Now, as a quick side note, 1.5 million black men have been missing from our prison system since 1995. Even Hillary Clinton said this 3 years ago. Where'd they go? It's called organ harvesting. 1.5 million black men gone. Whew, organ harvesting. Why? Because our people carry a certain ingredient called melanin that they sell on the black market, including the stock exchange and every stock exchange throughout the world. Okay? So then, I'll come back to that. So when you look at the Boule, Roland Martin, a sellout. Farrakhan sellout. There's never been a black organization created by black people, not even the Nation of Islam. Farrakhan's God, okay, the creator of the Nation of Islam, was a white man born in New Zealand whose parents were born in British India. When I say British India, when the British Empire colonized India centuries and centuries ago. So the parents of the founder of the Nation of Islam, white British people, they were not black, they were not Arabian. That's what the Nation of Islam, they keep changing the color. First he's black, he's olive, he is mixed now. Stop. So Wallace Dodd Ford, or Forrod, immigrated to Newark, New Jersey, okay, in the early part of the 1900s, joined the Moorish Science Temple of America, led by Noble Jew Ali. So the Moorish Science Temple of America, their teaching is that concerning the origins of the black Moors out of Spain, but the term Moor is not one of greatness, it is a derogatory term, meaning one who is cursed. I'll come back to that. So the Moorish Science Temple of America moves to Chicago. This white New Zealander, okay, the god of the Nation of Islam, Wallace Dodd Ford, has over 1,000 different aliases. Moves to Los Angeles out here, works in a restaurant, and is arrested by the LAPD for murder and for selling heroin. I'm talking about Farrakhan's God, okay? Wallace Dodd Ford, he is sent to San Quentin, okay? Then, when he gets out of San Quentin, okay, the god of the Nation of Islam, he moves to Portland, then moves to Galveston, Texas, okay? And then moves to Chicago to join the Moorish Science Temple of America. The racist Chicago PD sets up Noble Jew Ali for murder. So Noble Jew Ali has to leave Chicago for a while until the heat dies down. So he is instructing this young man, Farrakhan's God, which they would deny to this day, who they call Master Farah Muhammad. So Noble Drew Ali put him in charge of the Moorish Science Temple in Chicago. The building for the Moorish Science Temple, okay, was owned by a Khazarian who created the Sears Roebuck Company, okay, a man by the name of Julius Rosenwald, who had a housekeeper named Claude Green, who was the treasurer for the local Moorish Science Temple of America. Claude Green ends up getting murdered. We don't know how. We don't know who killed him. Okay. But the building, which Noble Drew Ali was renting, belonged to Julius Rosenwald. This is the same Julius Rosenwald who built the 5,000 Rosenwald schools in the South. It was Julius Rosenwald who gave the bulk of his money to create the historically black colleges and universities that exist to this day, who are educational hotbeds for the training of future Boule Secret Society sellouts. Okay? So John D. Rockefeller gives Julius Rosenwald $100,000. Rosenwald gives it to his best friend, Cecil B. DeMille, the Hollywood director, and who gives it to his side piece, the money, to start the first abortion clinic in Harlem, New York, in April 1929. Marcus Singer, Planned Parenthood. Okay. So all of the pastors throughout Harlem and throughout the boroughs of New York were paid $500 each to allow this trash to come on their pulpits to convince black women to abort their children. Okay? But her kids stayed alive. So then, which takes us to 1939. See, and definitely, and the thing is, we're definitely getting to the born in sin, ship and iniquity, because that's a powerful paradigm. So we built the foundation in Genesis chapter 1. We're coming to Cain and Abel, Cannibal, Bloods and Crips, and the Bloods and Crips were created by the Central Intelligence Agency, right? It was not Tookie Williams or Raymond Washington that created the Bloods and Crips, or also called the Pyros, which is really the name of a demon in Finnish demonology. When I say Finnish, that's the history of demonology in Finland, okay? And so the CIA created the Bloods and Crips after the Bloods and Crips, actually before them was the Black Panther Party. Mm-hmm. The original Black Panther Party. Dr. Uri Newton is a hero of mine. Now, I don't agree with the communistic part, but it was the Panthers who introduced homeschooling. Mm-hmm. It was the Panthers who introduced those school lunches, okay? The Panthers did that. These men and women were brilliant, PhD, master degrees, PhDs. And so they're telling you and I that Uri Newton stole drugs. That's a lie. So the FBI took him out. Well, we'll talk about that later on. So getting back to the Boule, all of the black colleges throughout the United States, especially in the South, okay, in the southeastern portion of the United States, that's with Rockefeller, Rothschild money, okay, and also through the money of Julius Rosenwald. So Julius Rosenwald of the Sears Roebuck Company helped start Planned Parenthood in New York City. Now, originally it was called the Birth Control League. Going back to January 1916, they were in Brownsville, New York, that at the time was predominantly white, but now Brownsville, New York is predominantly Jewish. Okay, and then 13 years later, in 1929, in the corner of what would be today Malcolm X in 125th or Lenox in 125th, was the first Planned Parenthood clinic. Okay, it was because of pastors who sold out their people for $500. That Planned Parenthood gave each pastor in Harlem $500. So the life of a black child was only worth $500. And you know what the tragic thing is, man of God? Nothing has changed, okay? I'm hated, especially by a lot of my people, okay? They say, why won't you talk about white people? I'll talk about everyone. That's our problem, okay? So then, yes, we are the original people. Yes, wait a minute, what do you mean we are the original people? Wait a minute, we are the original Hebrews. Now, there's a great distinction. I'll come back to the Boulets because the state of Israel is using the Boule. There's a difference between an Israelite versus an Israeli. Well, let's start with the latter. An Israeli is a present day citizen of the state of Israel. Now, the state of Israel, I'm not talking about the nation of Israel, but the state of Israel is only 77 years old, going back to 1978. The nation of Israel is not just 3,000 to 4,000 years old. The nation of Israel actually has no age, like the Torah has no age. So a lot of theologians would say the Torah is 3,339 years old when God gave it to Moshe or Moses. Well, it's ageless. So the nation of Israel is the black diaspora here in this country and the black diaspora around the world. I'm not making this a race connotation, but let the truth be told. So the original Hebrews were black. Noah did not have a son named Semitic or Sem. See, there's a difference between a Shemite versus a Semite. A Shemite, the oldest son of Noah, a Shemite is an Israelite of the original Hebrews who were black. Abram, who became Abraham, Abram, father, Ham means covenant. So God processed Abram out of the Ur of the Chaldees. So Abram, Raymond the Bush, came from the Ur of the Chaldees, which is present-day Iraq. Then God told him, pack up your bags. All you need is a compass and a suitcase. There's a land I want you to occupy. But there are Amalekites, Ammonites, Ekronites, Canaanites in the land of milk and honey. Okay. Now, these white Jews today, see, people think I'm an anti-Semite. No, when you're teaching truth, then they call you an anti-Semite. My right-hand person on our staff, Sister Lisa, Dr. Lisa Golsing, she's a Jew. Okay. So the Jews of today, they're only Jewish by conversion. The Khazarians, which go back centuries, out of Turkey, Mongolia, from the central part of China through the Han Dynasty. Then they immigrated to Eastern, Central, and Western Europe. Eastern Europe as Ashkenazi Jews, Western Europe as Sephardic Jews. Okay, those are not evil words. This is just the truth, a part of the Immaculate deception of history. So you and I are Shemitic. So Shem's name was not Semitic. Well, where did that term Semitic or Semite come from? On the website of the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, they don't hide it. They say that the term Semite or Semitic was concocted and created by a German philosopher during the late 1700s. But they don't name the philosopher, but I will. Dr. August Ludwig von Schlosser was paid by the Rothschilds to create a term called Semite, Semitic, or that which is Semitical. And that's not an evil word, but it was concocted in the late 1700s with Rothschild money through a German philosopher, Dr. August Ludwig von Schlosser. So when people say Semite or being anti-Semitic, that term Semitic is not authentic. It was concocted by a German philosopher in the late 1700s. Dr. August Ludwig von Schlosser. So then there's a great difference between Shemites, you and I, versus Semites, our beautiful Israeli brothers and sisters today. But the current state of Israel, those people whom we love, they are not true Hebrews. This is a reason why their prime minister, who is a devil, okay, Benjamin Netanyahu, whose real name is Malachowski from Poland, he's Polish, okay? His administration enacted a law a few years ago that it is forbidden for anyone to get a DNA, RNA testing. Why? Because they don't want you to know that they're not the original Abrahamic seed. So today's Jews who we love, they're Polish, okay? They're Turkish Khazarian, the Mongolian, they are Ashkenazi, they are Sephardic, but they're not Hebraic by blood, nor Jewish by discipline. For you theologians, between Malachi and Matthew in God's word is called the 400 silent years. God no longer spoke to the earth because of her sin. This is how our people lost the Torah. This is how our people lost the Ark of the Covenant. Okay? A leader out of Rome who called himself Leo the Khazar was sent by the Roman government to destroy Jerusalem. This is between Malachi and Matthew. To take the Ark of the Covenant and to take it to Rome. To take the scroll, the Torah, and call it their own. They took it to Rome. And then down through the centuries, through what we call the black nobility, the 13 families, Rothschilds, Rockefellers, Oppenheimers, okay? The Farneses, the Orsinis, okay? The Colonnas. These people are not true-blooded Hebrew. Now, if we want to get technical, Abram was not a true-blooded Hebrew. Abraham was Chaldean. He came up out of the Ur of the Chaldees. So Hebrew is not a bloodline. Jew or Jewish is not a bloodline. Every Hebrew is a Jew, but not every Jew is a Hebrew. Abraham or Abram came up out of which would be called Iraq. I've never been challenged by a rabbi. I've never been challenged by, I'm begging them to debate. They won't do it. Because they know I would decapitate them educationally. So then, the immaculate deception of history, the beautiful Israeli people, they don't want Zionism. Zionism was created by the Rothschilds through a man that they contracted in 1797, a man by the name of Theodor Herzl, who created the paradigm of Zionism. Theodor Herzl, who was an atheist, had said that God told him that the land belonged to these Khazarians. But yet, wait a minute now. But Herzl was not just a bona fide racist. Herzl was an atheist. But what is called Palestine or the land of Israel was not the first choice of Zionists. Their first choice was Uganda. They wanted Uganda, okay, not just from a political standpoint. Uganda carries most of the gold throughout Africa. Now, as a side point, we have to stop calling ourselves African. That's not the name of the original continent. The name of the original continent was called Alkebulan, which means the Garden of Eden. And what Rome did during the Second Punic War in 202 BC, through a man by the name of Leo Scipio Africanus. Now, you got black folk. No, the name Africanus was confirmed. No, that was the last name of a white Roman family. See, black folk, they don't want to give up that title. Okay, Africa. So Leo Scipio Africanus built the first underground dumb tunnels for the trafficking of children. So you got, wait a minute now, 30, 40 million black folk in this country, not you and I, calling ourselves after the name of our former slave master and calling ourselves after a pedophile, Leo Scipio Africanus. Down the road, there was Louis Africanus, whose real names is Abin Muhammad Hassan, slave traders. So let's remove the term Alkebulan, which means the Garden of Eden, and let's call ourselves after the name of our former slave masters. Here's the difference between us, true Jews, true Hebrews, versus those who we love, but they're Khazarians. The Khazarians, they constantly change their name. The other day, have you heard of, we had exposed this during our Global Masterclass, those amongst the Third Reich, Joseph Goebbels, one of the most evil men in history. So my staff, not just here, we have a small staff of researchers in New York who also take care of my speaking engagements. Every other day, I'm on some radio show or podcast by phone or by Zoom somewhere from around the world. So technically, I'm booked until October of 2027. But I felt the leading of the Holy Spirit to be here today with you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. So the immaculate deception of history. So then, we love our Israeli brothers and sisters. But Joseph Goebbels, that wasn't his real name. He was Adolf Hitler's right-hand man. The real name of the Goebbels bloodline was called Bendix, Bendix, which is an Ashkenazi name. Joseph Goebbels was a Khazarian. Hitler's real name is Hiedler, but he had Rothschild blood.
I heard that.
Because his grandmother, who was raped by a Rothschild, she was, you know about this.
I heard about
she
that.
was a housemaid for the Hamburg, Germany Rothschilds. She conceived Adolf Hitler's father. So that's why Hitler went into, not just the Rhineland, went into Austria, because the government of Austria was keeping all of those records, not just on the true bloodline of Adolf Hitler, but the bloodline of the Third Reich. Most of them were Ashkenazic. That's why they went to war, to hide that. That's why they invaded Poland on September 1st, 1939, to destroy that. Because that's where they're from.
The history.
The history. See, when you look, people are talking about...
So it's kind of like why they invaded Iraq and went straight to the museums.
Went straight to the...
Yeah.
That's it. You see? Hitler's a Rothschild. Goebbels is Ashkenazic. Okay? We've been lied to. And Benjamin Netanyahu, he's Polish. We love the Israeli people, but they hate Zionism. They don't want it. So how is it that this small country has got the United States by the testicular fortitude? We got to break that. We're not talking about the everyday Israeli Jewish people. I'm talking about the Zionist demons. Okay? So Zionism, you go back to 1917, the Balfour Declaration. You've heard of it. Sir Arthur Balfour, a British politician. He was subservient to his handler, Walter Rothschild, of the British Rothschilds. So Walter Rothschild had bought the land, which is now called the State of Israel, and first gave it to Great Britain, okay, called the UK-Palestine Agreement. And then after World War II, 3 years after World War II, 1948, let's give it to a people born in Turkey, but migrated to the State of Israel, to the nation of Israel, born within the Mongolian Empire, but moved to Palestine, born amongst the people of the central part of China, the Han Dynasty. So the State of Israel, not the people, the State of Israel is a fabrication. Because it was built in Turkey, Mongolia, Han Dynasty in China, moved to Germany, Ashkenazic, moved to Central and Western Europe, Sephardic, and let's give them a land that they have no genetical, no legal right to. Okay. That's why they got these wars. In the state of Israel, not the nation, but the state of Israel is only 77 years old, going back to 1948. But they are incorporated, the state of Israel, out of London, England. Wait a minute, I'm confused. How is it that we've been duped? Oh, these are God, and everyone's God's people. But we've been told they're the Jews, they are the true Hebrews. But the government, the state of Israel, a fabrication, has its corporation status out of London, England, controlled by the British Crown, King Charles. And the state of Israel was exposed in the Panama Papers, the Paradise Papers, okay, in the Pandora Papers, of having a P.O. box out of the Cayman Islands and also out of the British Virgin Islands, which holds billions of dollars throughout Caribbean banks connected to MI5, MI6 out of London, to the Mossad. All of this is coming down. And what Charlie Kirk's death has done, see, it has backfired against the Mossad. We love our Israeli brothers and sisters, but they are not the ancient Israelites, and they know it.